मदेकबन्धो मत्सङ्गिन्मद्गुरो मन्महाधन मन्निस्तारकमद्भाग्यमदानन्दनमस्ते प्रसादु साधुतादाय नतिनीचोच्चताकर आनमुचगदाशिं मां प्रवणागतकण्ठयोस्फुरा ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Okay, 34 एवं हरौ भगवति प्रतिलब्ध भावो भक्त्या द्रवहृदय उत्पुलकः प्रमोदात् उत्कण्ठ्य बाष्पकलया मुहुरद्यमानस् तच्चापि चित्तबडिशं शनकैर्वियुक्ते. By following this course, the yogi gradually develops pure love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari. In the course of his progress in devotional service, the hairs on his body stand erect through excessive joy, and he is constantly bathed in a stream of tears occasioned by intense love. Gradually, even the mind, which he used as a means to attract the Lord, as one attracts a fish to a hook, withdraws from material activity. Okay. I think I read out some portion. Anyway, we'll go through it again. यस्तु अतिमन्दः महद् अननुगृहीतः एतामपि ध्यानमाधुरीम् उपभुज्य अपि अलब्ध आस्वादनिष्ठः जिहासति. That person who's of dull intelligence and who's deprived of the mercy of the great soul, of the great souls, even though he experiences the sweetness of the meditation of the Lord in this manner, because he does not, he is not steadily fixed in relishing the sweetness of this meditation, he has a desire to give it up. स तु योगी योगे एव प्राप्तनिष्ठः अपि योगिषु अतिनिकृष्ट एव भक्तिरसवञ्चित एव. But he is a yogi, and despite having attained a state of steadiness in simply that process of yoga, he is very he is of a very inferior grade amongst the yogis. He is deprived of the rasa of bhakti. Bhakti eva diyamahanam ekavimshati prakara dukkhanashapurvaka pratyek atma anubhava atmakam moksham prapnoti natu brahma anubhava atmakam moksham ityaha. There are 21 types of distress in material existence. This is all studied in the yoga system. And bhakti gives one the realization of himself as being different from the body, self-realization. And he gets liberation in the form of self-realization. He does not attain liberation in the form of Brahman realization. He states that from this verse up to the end of this chapter, Haro Bhagavati iti manoharatvat bhagashakvatvatcha madhurya aishwarya amrita paripurnaha api pratilabdha bhavaha श्लेषेण प्रतिरूपतया एव न तु अनुरूपतया लब्धः भावः येन सह. Now, this person, he, because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Hari, is charming. And he's charming because he possesses 6 opulences. Because of these reasons, he is absolutely complete with the nectar of sweetness, and opulence. So then, this yogi, he becomes pratilabdha bhava. His love for the Lord develops. Now, the word pratilabdha contains the prefix prati, which indicates that the loving feeling towards the Lord that he develops is here Pratilabdha Bhava refers to not Anurupa Bhava but Pratirupa Bhava. So now that has a certain meaning. This is a hint here that he attains an attitude that is not very favorable. अत्र खलु अपिशब्दः सर्वत्र अन्वयति प्रतिलब्धभावः अपि द्रवधृतयः अपि उत्पुलकः अपि औत्कण्ठ्यहेतुकया बाष्पकलया अश्रुभागेन मुहुरद्यमानः अपि तच्च अपि तस्मादपि स्वरूपात् चित्तपडिशं वियुङ्क्ते वियोजयति. This is some kind of a semblance of attraction towards the Lord. So even though he has attained that semblance of attraction towards his Supreme Lord, his heart is already melting. His hair is standing on end. There are tears from his eyes caused by eagerness towards the Supreme Lord. And even though he is becoming more and more moist with such tears, still he takes, just as you take a hook away. So like that, this hook of the mind is being taken away. Jnanam cha mayi sannyaseti vividhavad bhakti sannyase vidyabhavat pratyuta bhakti ardharayarpitamana na पृथक दिदृक्षेत इति निषेध विधेः सद्भावात् अयं मंदधि स्वेच्छेव वियोजयति इति अर्थः. So this unintelligent yogi, he stops this meditation on the Supreme Lord. Just as there is a rule in 11.19.13 that at some point the one engaged in jnana should stop that jnana for the sake of the Supreme Lord. But if you look at the various scriptures, you will not find any statement that you should give up bhakti for the Supreme Lord. In fact, in 3.28.33, it was clearly indicated that one should not give up bhakti. But still, this unintelligent yogi, by his own desire, he disconnects his mind. Viyunjyadati vidhi aprayogadi. It doesn't say that he must do this because it uses the word viyunkte. He withdraws. Yataha asya chittam padishyam. Ataha tadrsha api san. Tasmadapi madhuryamaya swarupat viyojayati iti. His mind itself is that hook. And with that mind, he is supposed to fix himself in the sweet personal feature of the Supreme Lord, but still he disconnects. Vishaya rasa outkanthya duri karnartham bhagavan madhurye nikshiptam yachittam tasya tan madhurya outkantasya api nivrittaye tachittam tatopi nivartayati iti. The reason why his mind was absorbed in the sweetness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead was in order to get out of the eagerness to enjoy the mellows of the sense objects. Therefore, he had used his mind. Now, with the same mind, he is making it detached from that eagerness to experience the sweetness of the Lord continuously. Shanakaihi iti chittasya samyak yuktatve viyojanam khalu durghatam ateva asamyoga eva sati abhyasena shanai. द्वित्र वारेण चतुःपञ्च वारेण वा सप्त अष्ट वारेण वा अवश्यमेव वियोजयति इति. The word shanakaih comes here. Gradually she withdraws. So from that it is understood that if the mind is firmly fixed on the different features of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then it would be impossible to withdraw, because the experience is so sweet. So from this it is understood that this person is not absolutely fixed on the Supreme Lord. And therefore, by practice, gradually he disconnects the mind from the Lord himself. Initially 2 times, 3 times, then 4 times, 5 times, then 7 times, 8 times, like that. By practice, he disconnects himself. He is very firmly determined to do it. Badisham hi ashmasaramayam bhavati. Now a hook is made out of iron. Ataha swarna rupyadivat na navanitadivat dhruti bhavati. So it does not melt the way gold and silver or fresh butter melts. Kintu akhni tapa adhikyavashat kinchit dravad eva takshana eva punaha kathoram cha bhavati. Rather, when you keep it in fire, then because of excessive heat, it melts to some extent, and then in the next moment, it immediately becomes hard. Ataha dravadhridaya iti. Therefore, here the expression dravadhridaya is used. His heart is melting. Natu drutahridaya iti yuktam. It has not been stated that his heart has melted. Yatha badisham khalu gangadi tirtha jala nitya snana param api kutilam arasagyam. Yatha shamina lobhanam ishta pishtaka anna khandena avrata mukhatvat dambhikam cha. तथा एव विगीत योगिनः चेतः अपि तीर्थभूतमपि कठोरं कुटिलं भगवद आकर्षक ध्यान भक्ति आवृत मुखत्वात् दाम्भिकं च. Just as a hook it is used, practically speaking, on a daily basis, even in holy waters such as the waters of the Ganga. Still it is curved and it is very used in a very blunt manner. And in order to attract the fish, it is covered with attractive foodstuffs, sweets. So there is some amount of deception there also. Similarly, the mind of these condemned or criticized yogis, even though it is purified by a tirtha. Now, tirtha can refer to a holy place. It can also refer to a holy person. At home, it is still hard. Kutilam, it is crooked. And it is also deceptive in nature, because in order to attract the Supreme Lord, that mind engages in an activity of meditation towards the Supreme Lord, which is actually a form of bhakti. So that mind is covered with devotion service to the Supreme Lord in the form of meditation in order to attract him. But actually, it is being used for deceptive purposes. धर्म प्रोज्झित कैतवः इत्यत्र श्री स्वामी चरणे अशब्देन मोक्ष अभिसन्धिः अपि कैतवत्व व्याख्यानात् कैवल्य इच्छा कैतव दोषादेव येन सर्वश्रेष्ठा अपि ध्यान रूपा श्री भक्ति देवी योग अंगत्वेन उपासिता अपि पश्चात् त्यक्ता तस्य योगी चित्त बडिशस्य स्पर्शः भगवतः अपि कष्टकर एव. श्री स्वामी चरणम, the most respected Sridhar Swami, in his commentary to 1.1.2, has noted that the prefix pra in Projhita Kaitava, Projhita is pra plus Ujjita, uh, so that prefix pra indicates that the very pursuit of liberation is deception. So, because of the defect of having the desire for Kaivalya or being isolated from matter, then Sri Bhakti Devi, in the form of meditation on the Supreme Lord, even though is the very, very best amongst all the different processes, despite being honored as a mere anga portion of the yoga system, it is rejected at a later point. Therefore, for the Supreme Personality of Godhead also, the touch of the mind, the mental hook of this yogi is also painful. अतस्तद वियोगे भगवान एव तस्मै हारित तादृश चित्त बडिशाय योगी धी वराय मोक्षम एकवंशिति प्रकार दुख निवृत्ति पूर्वक प्रत्यगात्मा अनुभव रूपम ददाति न तो परमात्मा अनुभव रूपम मोक्षम. So therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, once this yogi takes the hook of his mind away from the Supreme Lord, that yogi is like a fisher man. He's using his mind just for a particular purpose. So he gives liberation to this yogi in the form of freedom from the 21 types of distress, followed by self-realization alone. He does not give him liberation in the form of direct experience of the Paramatma. यस्तु भगवद्गीतोक्त अष्टांग योगी भगवद ध्यानम अजहद एव दृष्टः तस्मै तु परमात्मा अनुभव रूपम अपि मोक्षम ददाति इत्याहुर भागवत रसिका. Advanced devotees, Bhagavata Rasikas, point out that there is another type of Ashtanga Yoga who is discussed in Bhagavad Gita. That person is seen to be engaging in Bhagavad Dhyana without giving it up. For that person, the Supreme Lord gives liberation in the form of experience of the Supreme Soul, Paramatma himself. यतः स कदाचिदपि न ध्येयात् भगवान् मधुर रूपात् वियोक्तुम् इष्टे, because he has no desire to be disconnected from the sweet form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his object of meditation. Yathoktam Ragya, as it is stated by the king. 2.8.6 Dhautatma Purusha Krishna Padamulam Namunchati. Once a man becomes purified in his mind, he never gives up the souls of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Mukta sarva pariklesha panthasvasharanam yatha. Just as a person comes back home after a very troubled journey, is entirely free from all sorts of disturbances and difficulties. Uddhavena cha. Uddhava also says, Tam tva kilatmad ashritanam sarvarthadam swakrita vistrajeta konu. 11.29.5. Which person will give you up because you are the most beloved Lord for all the souls, for all those who have taken shelter of you? You give all the different things that they hanker for. So anybody who knows how to benefit himself, why will he ever give you up? Shri Naradena cha. Shri Narada also says 1.5.19 Smaran Mukundam Hyupaguhanam Punar Vihatamichen Rasagraho Janaha iti. That person who is absolutely engaged in service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he remembers the Lord's lotus feet and embraces his lotus feet. So because he has experienced the rasa of pure bhakti, he will never ever desire to give it up. Rasagraha iti anena yogishu api madhye Shri Shuka Prabhritayah eva apinanditaha. Here, the word rasagraha, the one who is relishing the rasa of pure bhakti. This indicates that amongst the yogis also, only those headed by Sri Shukadeva Goswami are appreciated. Atraiva Purva Shloke, in a previous shloka, 3.28.33, Bhaktyar Dharayar Pitamana na Pithak Driksheti. Arpitamana iti Bhagavate Manha Samarpya Tasmin Manasi Swatva Abhavat Katham Tasmat Tad Viyojaye Katham Va Datta Apahari Bhavet iti Tathatve Ninda Durnivara. In 3.28.33, it is stated that having offered his mind with tender devotion to the Supreme Lord, one should not desire to see anything else. Here, Arpitamana indicates that this person is expected to offer his mind to the Supreme Lord. And once he has offered his mind to the Supreme Lord, it no longer belongs to himself. It no longer belongs to that yogi. So then how he can give up that which does not belong to him now? How will he steal something which has already been given to somebody else? And if he were to do that, criticism would be inevitable. Bhagavan api bhaktanam eva hridi tishthetna yoginaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead also will only reside in the hearts of his devotees. He would not reside in the hearts of the yogis. Yaduktam Brahmana, which has been stated by Lord Brahma, Bhaktya Grihita Charanah Parayachate Sham, Napaishinatha Hridayam Buruhat Swapum Sam iti. When your lotus feet has been grasped through pure bhakti, para bhakti, you never give up, O Lord. You never go away from the lotus of the hearts of your own devotees. Own devotees. It's 3.9.54. Avirhotrena cha. Avirhotra also notes 11.2.55. Visrijati hridayam nayasya ityadi. The first class Vaishnava is one who will never give up his heart for any one or anything other than the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This comes in a detailed description of the status of a first class devotee. Here it is clearly mentioned that meditation, which is an action of the mind, is not the perfect stage of samadhi or absorption. In the beginning, the mind is employed in attracting the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but in the higher stages, there is no question of using the mind. A devotee becomes accustomed to serving the Supreme Lord by purification of the senses. In other words, the yoga principles of meditation are required as long as one is not situated in pure devotional service. The mind is used to purify the senses, but when the senses are purified by meditation, there's no need to sit in a particular place and try to meditate upon the form of the Lord. One becomes so habituated that he automatically engages in the personal service of the Lord. When the mind forcibly is engaged upon the form of the Lord, this is called nirbija yoga or lifeless yoga. For the yogi does not automatically engage in the personal service of the Lord. But when he is constantly thinking of the form is constantly thinking of the Lord, that is called Sabija Yoga or living yoga. One has to be promoted to the platform of living yoga. One should engage in the service of the Lord 24 hours a day, as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. The stage of Premanjana Churita can be attained by developing complete love. When one's love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead and devotional service is fully developed, one always sees the Lord, even without artificially meditating on his form. His vision is divine because he has no other engagement. At this stage of spiritual realization, it is not necessary to engage the mind artificially, since the meditation recommended in the lower stages is a means to come to the platform of devotional service. Those already engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord are above such meditation. This stage of perfection is called Krishna consciousness. Question. Test.
True, as we see that here, yogi meditates upon the different features of the Lord. Do we also need to meditate like this?
We have the deities. Naturally, we will engage in serving the deity form of the Lord. We will take darshan of the Lord. We will do so many different services connected to serving the deity form. That is also a certain type of meditation. So it's automatically there in the life of a bhakti yogi.
So we need not to contemplate on that form and again meditating separately.
That is also there. Rupa Dhyanam, it's one of the 64 items. Now, we already saw that in Tirasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion.
Okay, so when it comes to meditate, so although we see we see the deity, but sometimes it is observed that it is very difficult to remember and again meditate on the form.
So,
So meditation is not possible then for everyone.
anyway, that's why we have been given uh, we have a morning program. We have during the day we have preaching events. Then at the evening again we have evening program. Prabhupada referred to this as the sandwich program. We have a morning program, we have evening program, and during the daytime we have multiple engagements in the preaching work. Preaching work is kirtanam. In morning program, evening program, there is a combination of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, and deity worship also. It's a very interesting variety of engagements Prabhupada has given us. We should accept that.
Okay, in the previous purport, somewhere I was reading that Prabhupada is saying for some people, those who are advanced, they need not to visit temples. They can see
Hmm.
wherever they sit and meditate on the farm, they can see.
Yes.
So, what is that advancement means? Those who have attained Bhava, something like that?
Those who are able to remember the Supreme Lord continuously, for them, they will not require these regulations of deity worship and so on.
Okay.
That's all. Okay, 35. Muktashrayam yadhi nirvishayam viraktam nirvana mrichyati manah sahasa yatharchi atmanamatra purusho yavadhanamekam anvikshati pratidudrit guna pravaha. When the mind is thus completely freed from all material contamination and detached from material objectives, it is just like the flame of a lamp. At that time, the mind is actually dovetailed with that of the Supreme Lord and is experienced as one with Him because it is freed from the interactive flow of the material qualities. Atinikrisht yogi padhatyukte Bhagavat Swarupa Tyage Sati Manasah Kadashasya Ityapekshayamaha Mukta iti. Something is wrong. Wait. Constant problem. So in the process of this lowest grade of yogi, which has been stated here, in which one gives up the personality of Godhead, what would be the position of his mind? Anticipating that, this text is spoken here. Mukta evam yarhi manaha nirvishayam bhagavati tada muktashrayam cha syat ध्येय संबंधम विना तस्य ध्यातरि अवस्थान असंभवात् न च पूर्ववत् व्यावहारिक शब्दादि विषयस्य यतः तत्र विरक्तं परमानंद अनुभवेन न च परमानंद रूपमेव पुनरपि विषयीकुर्यात् शनकैर्वियन्ते इत्यत्र शनैः पदेन पुनरपि ततो वियोजनीयत्वात् अतः निर्वाणं लयं ऋच्छति प्राप्नोति. So this person, his mind is not fixed on the Supreme Lord. It is not fixed in sense objects also. It is not possible for the mind to simply exist just like that. So, and at the same time, he does not have, his mind is not fixed on sense objects such as sound, touch, form, taste, smell. These material tanmatras. Because he has already been detached on the basis of the experience of superior bliss. But that form of superior bliss, which is the Supreme Personality of Godhead also, he will not again make into his object of meditation, because 3.8134 clearly said that gradually he takes it away. So then what does he attain? Nirvanam richati. The mind merges. Yatharchihi. Deepakalika tailavartibhyam yukta nirvati ityartaha. Like the flame of a lamp, when it is disconnected from oil and from that wick, then the flame will naturally get extinguished. Atra asyam dashayam purushaha jivaha manolaye sati. So when the mind is extinguished, लिंग रूप आवरण भंगाद अव्यवधानम शुद्धम आत्मानम प्रत्येगात्मानम एकम अन्वीक्षते. Then that purusha or the jivatma, because his subtle body is broken up, he is able to perceive himself. Tatagacha na samsarati, and therefore he does not, he is not subjected to the samsara chakra or the cycle of birth and rebirth. Pratinivritta guna pravaha dehadi upadharyasya saha. He is freed from the interactive flow of the material qualities. He is freed from the flow of the material qualities. That means he is freed from the generation of the body and so on, connected to the body. These are all material designations. These all go away. In the material world, the activities of the mind are acceptance and rejection. As long as the mind is in material consciousness, it must be forcibly trained to accept meditation on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When one is actually elevated to loving the Supreme Lord, the mind is automatically absorbed in thought of the Lord. In such a position, a yogi has no other thought than to serve the Lord. This dovetailing of the mind with the desires of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is called nirvana, or making the mind one with the Supreme Lord. The best example of nirvana is cited in Bhagavad Gita. In the beginning, the mind of Arjuna deviated from Krishna's. Krishna wanted Arjuna to fight, but Arjuna did not want to. So there was disagreement. But after hearing Bhagavad Gita from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna dovetailed his mind with Krishna's desire. This is called oneness. This oneness, however, did not cause Arjuna and Krishna to lose their individualities. The Mayavadi philosophers cannot understand this. They think that oneness necessitates loss of individuality. Actually, however, we find in Bhagavad Gita that individuality is not lost when the mind is completely purified in love of Godhead. The mind becomes the mind of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The mind at that time does not act separately, nor does it act without inspiration to fulfill the desire of the Lord. The individual liberated soul has no other activity. Pratinivritta guna pravaha. In the conditioned state, the mind is always engaged in activity impelled by the three modes of the material world. But in the transcendental stage, the material modes cannot disturb the mind of the devotee. The devotee has no other concern than to satisfy the desires of the Lord. This is the highest stage of perfection called nirvana or nirvana mukti. At this stage, the mind becomes completely free from material desire. So, what Prabhupada is doing is he's talking about the status of the mind of someone who's actually progressing uh, in bhakti from Yogameshwara bhakti to Kevala bhakti um, and progressing in the natural pathway. Natural pathway means like as taught in Bhagavad Gita, that from the platform of Yogameshwara bhakti, one comes to the point of Kevala bhakti and he accepts that as his means and goal. So Prabhupada is talking about that. That is the natural means by which to progress. Natural means the Supreme Personality of Godhead has arranged for various processes in order to help us come to the point of pure bhakti, pure Bhagavad Bhakti, as the means and as the goal also. So Prabhupada is talking about that. Vishwanath Chakravarti talking about, he's talking about these people, the common yogis, who may accept Vishnu Bhakti even, in order to, they accept Vishnu Bhakti only as a means but not as a goal. So they may come to the point of Yoga Mishra Bhakti. They may be absorbed in meditation on the Supreme Lord, which is nothing but a form of Kevala Bhakti, but they do not desire to continue Kevala Bhakti as its own goal. That is what distinguishes the pure devotee of Lord Vishnu from others. Yatharchihi. Archihi means flame. When a lamp is broken or the oil is finished, we see that the flame of the lamp goes out. But according to scientific understanding, the flame is not extinguished, it is conserved. This is conservation of energy. Similarly, when the mind stops functioning on the material platform, it is conserved in the activities of the Supreme Lord. The Mayavadi philosopher's conception of cessation of the functions of the mind is explained here. Cessation of the mental functions means cessation of activities conducted under the influence of the three modes of material nature. Okay. Okay, question.
So, when this word nirvana is described here as dovetailing minds with desires of Lord, so how this, like Buddhists and others, they define nirvana as merging. So, if someone asks from that
No, not
party,
really merging, as extinguishing the mind, like a flame is extinguished.
okay, destroying.
Something like that.
So, if they may ask that how we arrived at this meaning,
Which meaning?
dovetailing the mind with desires of the Lord.
No. That material mind, it is extinguished. But the spirit soul itself is functioning with its own mind.
Okay. So there is more to their definition. Yeah,
Yeah.
material
Yeah.
is extinct, but there is
Correct.
something more.
Yeah. There's a lot more than what they're talking about.
Okay. Okay, bro.
There was another question, I thought. Yes.
Prabhu, in the 32 purport it is written the sex god is Makar Dvaja.
Makaradwaja is the name of Kamadeva.
Is the same as a Cupid. We say as a Cupid.
Cupid is an English word. Yes.
Okay, so somewhere I have read that we have to meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord, to give up the sexual desires, and here it is mentioned on the eyebrows of the Lord.
There are different procedures.
Means how?
But one can meditate on the eyebrows of the Lord. That is one way.
Mm-hmm. Also on the lotus feet.
Yes.
Okay, so now here this thing comes that when the mind is to be uh, meditate on the holy name of the Lord, so it needs to be practiced. So when we do practice, um, is there something that now the mind is coming to our control and it is now not diverting, that happens after this stage, something like that?
Yeah, after when one comes to the in the progress of bhakti, there's a stage called ruchi. So when one comes to that point, then the mind becomes submissive.
Okay,
Hmm.
so when we say ruchi, uh, what does it mean, ruchi?
See, there's a book called Madhurya Kadambini where each stage is described in great detail. What exactly is Shraddha, what is Sadhu Sangha, what is Bhajana Kriya, what is Anartha Nivritti, what are the different types of anarthas, what is Nishtha, what is Ruchi, what is Asakti, what is Bhava, what is Prema. It's all described in great detail there. So if you go through it, you'll have a better understanding. It means that one is predominated by a taste for devotional service to the Supreme Lord. So when one is predominated by a taste for the Supreme Lord, then then that stage is called ruchi. That comes after nishtha. Nishtha means uninterrupted engagement in bhajana kriya.
And uninterrupted devotion means?
24 hours a day one is engaged in bhajana kriya.
Okay, so Prabhu, that so now until attain this stage, ruchi
Hmm.
stage, so
Hmm.
it does not become like a natural. Means now we have to put so much force. We feel that we have to do so much hard work to do chanting like that. So is there
Correct.
anything in between these stages also? No, after this stage, it becomes free. It becomes uh, smooth process to chant the
Yeah.
holy name of
Yeah.
God.
Bhajana kriya, anartha nivritti, nishtha, ruchi. The
So
stages
one
in
has to
between.
cross.
So one was progress. Correct.
One has to cross the stage, then only it becomes smooth.
Yes. Correct. Yes.
Okay.
That is natural. Unless one progresses, how we can experience the benefits of a higher stage. If you want to experience the benefits of a higher stage, you have to agree to progress. Okay.
Yes, bro. Yes.
Okay, that's just one little thing I need to confirm. Whether something has been typed properly or not. I'm not sure. Muktashrayam. Sopyetaya Charamaya Manaso. 56. This is where we are. Sopyetaya. Okay, is this correct? So or not so? What's this? It's out there. Now there is Jiva Goswami. Okay, here is Vishnachan. What did I do? Nacha asau upadhilayah. Nacha asau upadhilayah. So upadhilayah. Sushupti dashayam. Okay, fine, let's move on. 36. Sopyetaya charamaya manaso nivritya tasmin mahimni avasitah sukadukka bahye हेतुत्वमप्यसति कर्तरि दुःखयो यत् स्वात्मन विधत्त उपलब्ध paratma. Thus situated in the highest transcendental stage, the mind ceases from all material reaction and becomes situated in its own glory, transcendental to all material conceptions of happiness and distress. At that time, the yogi realizes the truth of his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He discovers that pleasure and pain, as well as their interactions, which he attributed to his own self, are actually due to the false ego, which is a product of ignorance. And this extinction of the material designations is not like that which is experienced at the time of deep sleep. That is pointed out here. Sopi sacha purushaha jivaha manasaha nivritya hetuna tasmin mahimni yah sviya mahima पूर्वं मनसा बलाद अपहृत आसीत् तस्मिन् महिम्नि मनो नाशात् प्राप्ते ज्ञान आनंद स्वरूपे अवसितः अवसान निष्ठां प्राप्तः. So that Atma, meaning that Jivatma, his mind is now extinguished, so now he exists on the platform of his own glory. Previously, his glory was forcibly stolen by the mind. Now that the mind is destroyed, he is now situated in his nature of knowledge and bliss. He is now firmly, ultimately situated. That means he is now fixed. Manasaha nivritya idrishya. How he is, how that mind is taken away. Charamaya avidyaya rahitaya sushuptat visheshaha. The mind is taken away ultimately by the ultimate cessation of material reaction of the mind. So from that it is understood that this state is distinct from the state of sushupti because of the word charamaya, ultimate. Tatra hi avidya asti natu idani, because at the time of sushupti avidya still is there, but here now it's not there. Tatra hetuhu. The reason for that, etaya yoga abhyasa kritaya ityarthaha tasmin mahimni idrishe. Now it is not there because of his yoga abhyasa, his practice of yoga. Tasmin mahimni kidrishe. And what is the nature of the glory that he experiences? The glory of himself as being distinct from matter. Sukha dukhayoha atmadharmatvam eva drishtam ataha tato bahirbhutatvam katham atmanaha. We know that happiness and distress are the experience of happiness and distress is an intrinsic nature of the soul itself. So then how is this that the soul is considered to be external? Vidyataha asati avidyakrite kartari ahankare dukhayoho sukha dukhayoho hetu sukha dukha hetu karma kartritvam tad abhimana purvadashayam swatmani kartritvam bhoktritvam cha yadasit tat sarvam upalabdha paratma kashtaha ayam अपरोक्षीकृत आत्मतत्त्वः शुद्धः पुरुषः तस्मिन्नेव असति विधत्ते तन्निष्ठमेव पश्यति स्वस्मिन् अहङ्काराभावः. So now this soul who has attained self-realization, he is now experiencing himself as being beyond happiness and distress, which is natural to the soul. Now, if one were to, basically the point is this, if one were to say that happiness and distress are experienced by the soul itself, so then how can he become free from happiness and distress? See? So then the answer is because actually happiness and distress are caused by ahankara, which is produced by avidya. Therefore, there is the responsible agent. There is a sense that I am the responsible agent. These attitudes are produced by false ego, ahankara. So previously, he had this concept that I am the responsible agent, I am the experiencer, I am meant to enjoy. But once he comes to the point of realizing himself as transcendental to all of matter, because the pure living entity has nothing to do with false ego. Is entirely distinct. So therefore, he is able to see clearly that happiness and distress are part of or products of this ahankara, which itself is a product of vidya. Forgetfulness of one's relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a product of ignorance. By yoga practice, one can eradicate this ignorance of thinking oneself independent of the Supreme. One's actual relationship is eternally that of love. The living entity is meant to render transcendental loving service to the Lord. Forgetfulness of that sweet relationship is called ignorance. And in ignorance, one is impelled by the three material modes of nature to think himself the enjoyer. When the devotee's mind is purified and he understands that his mind has to be dovetailed with the desires of the Supreme Personality of God, he has attained the perfectional, transcendental stage, which is beyond the perception of material distress and happiness. Again, Prabhupada is talking about that yogi who has not given up devotional service and has come to the point of Kevala Bhakti. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is talking about that yogi who is only experiencing self-realization, is not even come to the point of realizing Brahman or Paramatma or Bhagavan. He's only realizing his own Atma as distinct from matter. Atma and Atma Viveka. That much only he is experiencing. But Prabhupada is talking about somebody who's actually moved up. He has come to Paramatma realization, Bhagavan realization, and so on. The verse itself is written in such a manner that both meanings are possible. As long as one acts on his own account, he is subject to all the material perceptions of so-called happiness and distress. Actually, there is no happiness. Just as there is no happiness in any of the activities of a madman, so in material activities, the mental concoctions of happiness and distress are false. Actually, everything is distress. When the mind is dovetailed to act according to the desire of the Lord, one has attained the transcendental stage. The desire to lord it over material nature is the cause of ignorance, and when that desire is completely extinguished and the desires are dovetailed with those of the Supreme Lord, one has reached the perfectional stage. Upalabdha paratmakashtaha. Upalabdha means realization. Realization necessarily indicates individuality. In the perfectional liberated stage, that is actual realization. Nivritya means that the living entity keeps his individuality. Oneness means that he realizes happiness in the happiness of the Supreme Lord. Parama Purusha Sukha Swa Sukhatvam. These are all features of a perfect Bhakti Yogi. So in other words, he becomes a pure Bhakti Yogi and he attains perfection in pure Bhakti Yoga. In the Supreme Lord, there is nothing but happiness. Anandamayo Bhyasat. The Lord is by nature full of transcendental happiness. In the liberated stage, oneness with the Supreme Lord means that one has no realization other than happiness. But the individual still exists. Otherwise, this word upalabdha, indicating individual realization of transcendental happiness, would not have been used. Okay, further questions?
Prabhu, I have two questions. One is from previous purport. When that flame is extinguished and Prabhupada is writing that sign says it is conserved. I could not understand that. And when flame is put out, how it is conserved?
The principle of conservation of energy. The energy of the flame is conserved. So like that, when the mind is not functioning on the material platform, then it functions regarding the activities of the Supreme Lord. That is as good as saying it is extinguished. The material aspect of the mind is extinguished. As long as one is a Jivan Mukta, he has an external subtle body, gross body, but the subtle body and gross body are only used for the service of the Supreme Lord. That is as good as saying that the mind has died.
Okay, Prabhu.
See, the very nature of the subtle body and gross body changes. This is actually pointed out even in Haribhakti Vilas commentary by Sanatan Goswami. He points out that when one progresses and becomes pure in his chanting, the very body of that person, the gross body itself changes its nature. The gross body itself changes its nature. Of course, you need to come to the point of Shuddhanam chanting, not Namapara chanting or Namapas chanting, but Shuddhanam chanting. Then the nature of the gross body itself changes. So that means the nature of the subtle body also would change.
Mm-hmm. And probably other one is little.
See, that's also the reason why the sannyasi's body is not burnt in Vedic culture. Because there's a statement in the scripture. Why do you need to burn a body which has already been burnt up? So the idea is that that person is expected to be a spiritually realized soul. That spiritual realization would have burnt up his body and changed its very nature. Since its nature has been changed, therefore it should be respectfully buried. That is why that idea is there. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So another one is one person was saying that like in purpose, Prabhupada is pointing out that our duty was to satisfy Lord's desire to serve him. So he was pointing out that living entities suffering is actually due to Lord only, that he has created us with free will. And he was arguing like that. And that's why if he could not have created only, then there would be no point that we'll suffer. I was telling him that we misused our free will. So he is again keep on pointing this, that why he should have taken away the free will. Somehow I was not able to convince him on this point.
But so he wants to become a robot.
I used this point also. He said it was better than to suffer, because now free will is there and now I misused it, now I am suffering. So he doesn't want to accept
We should stop
responsibility.
all childbirths all over the planet. Should make a rule. Nobody should give birth to a child because we don't know what these children will do. What if these children grow up in a very unhappy manner? Why you have to create a process by which people become unhappy? So let's stop childbirth. That's all. Finished. Make human species extinct. Who is going to accept that argument?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The Lord has given so much of arrangements now. If you still want to be happy in His absence also, He has given pious activities, so many things. Ultimately, of course, there's no happiness. The amount of happiness that we are hankering for does not exist here. That is the reason why repeatedly it is said, practically speaking, there is no happiness. Practically speaking, there is no happiness. Practically speaking, there is no happiness. Repeatedly it is said because of that. Okay, let's move on. 37. Deham chatam na charamasthitham utthitam va siddho vipashyati yatokya gammat swarupam daivadupetam atadaiva vashadapetam vaso yatha parikritam madiramadant, because he has achieved his real identity. The perfectly realized soul has no conception of how the material body is moving or acting. Just as an intoxicated person cannot understand whether or not he has clothing on his body. Tasya Jivan Mukti Maha. That person, that yogi, he is in a state of Jivan Mukti. Now that state of Jivan Mukti is described in two verses, 37 and 38. Charamaha, Charamadasha Apannaha, Siddhaha, Deham na Pashyati, Utaha Sukha Dukhe Ityarthaha. He has reached the final stage. So because he has reached the final stage, he does not even see his own body, where is a question of him perceiving happiness and distress, material happiness, material distress. He does not even see his material body. Adhyagamat praptaha. Adhyagamat swarupam. He has achieved his real identity. Parihritam, parihitam, asanaduthitam, utthaya tatraiva sthitam gatam va midaramadanda yatha navashyati. Just as a person who's blinded by intoxication due to an intoxicant does not know whether he has clothes on him or whether he has stood up from a chair, whether he is standing, whether he is walking. He does not know. This stage of life is explained by Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. A person whose mind is completely dovetailed with the desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engages 100% in the service of the Lord forgets his material bodily demands. Iha yasya harir dasye karmana manasa gira khilaswapya avasthasu jivan muktasa uchyate. 38. Dehopi daiva vashagah khalu karma yavat swarambhakam prati samikshata eva sa suh tam sa prapancham adhirudha samadhi yoga swapnam punarna bhajate pratibuddha vastu. The body of such a liberated yogi, along with the senses, is taken charge of by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It functions until its destined activities are finished. The liberated devotee, being awake to his constitutional position, thus situated in samadhi, the highest perfection stage of yoga, does not accept the byproducts of the material body as his own. Thus, he considers his bodily activities to be like the activities of a body in a dream. Question.
Prabhu, when one engages completely in the Lord's service, so he forgets about the bodily necessities, it is mentioned. So how they don't need, they don't feel hunger and thirst that time? How they feel like that?
Okay. That is coming in the current verse, text 38 it comes. How his body is taken care of. That all of that comes here. Let us look at this. Sarartha Darshini. Nanu tarhitasya dehaha katham jivet. In that case, he does not even see his body, so he's not going to take care of his body. So then how his body is going to live? He's a Jivan Mukta. That means Jivan Mukta means he is liberated while living in this world. Videha Mukta means he has given up his subtle body and gross body and gone beyond material existence itself. Absolutely, in the literal sense. So then, while he is a Jivan Mukta, how is his body taken care of? Nanu tarhi tasya dehaha katham jivet tatraha dehopi iti daivam purva samskaraha. Here the word daivam refers to his previous mental impressions, mental habits and so on. Tad vashena gachan yavat prati samikshate eva jivatyeva. So it goes on, it continues to function by the force of habit, previous habits. Sa asuhu, sa indriyaha. That refers to the body as well as its senses, along with the senses. Correct. Nanu tasmin punaha asakti syat. Would he not become reattached to his body? Tatraha tam deham saprapancham putradi sahitam punar na bhajate. No, he will not become attached to the body and everything connected to the body, such as his son and so on. Yataha, because swapnam, swapnatehadi tulyavaham mameti nabhimanyate. Just as one does not consider the body inside a dream or anything connected to his body inside a dream to be himself after the dream is over, like that. Tatra hetuhu. And the reason for that, adhirudha samadhi paryantaha yogaha yena saha. That is because he is adhirudha samadhi yoga. He has become situated in samadhi by yoga practice. He is situated in samadhi, the highest perfection stage of yoga. Ataha pratibuddham vastu atmatattvam yena saha. Therefore, he is awake about his constitutional position. The following questions may be posed. As long as the liberated soul is in contact with the body, why don't the bodily activities affect him? Doesn't he actually become contaminated by the action and reaction of material activities? In answer to such questions, this verse explains that the material body of a liberated soul is taken charge of by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dehopi Daiva Vashagaha. Daiva ultimately refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. Daivam Shaivatra Panchamam. It is not acting due to the living force of the living entity. So in other words, it is working according to the habits which are impelled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself in order to protect His body. It is simply acting as a reaction to past activities. Even after being switched off, an electric fan moves for some time. That movement is not due to the electric current, but is a continuation of the last movement. Similarly, although a liberated soul appears to be acting just like an ordinary man, his actions are to be accepted as a continuation of past activities. In a dream, one may see himself expanded through many bodies, but when awake, he can understand that those bodies were all false. Similarly, although a liberated soul has the byproducts of the body, children, wife, house, etc., he does not identify himself with those bodily expansions. He knows that they are all products of the material dream. The gross body is made of the gross elements of matter, and the subtle body is made of mind, intelligence, ego, and contaminated consciousness. If one can accept the subtle body of a dream as false, not identify oneself with that body, then certainly an awake person need not identify with the gross body. As one who is awake has no connection with the activities of the body in a dream, an awakened liberated soul has no connection with the activities of the present body, present material body. In other words, because he is acquainted with his constitutional position, he never accepts the bodily concept of life. Now, regarding this yogi has only realized that he is a soul and that he is not the subtle body or gross body. Only that much. Whereas the mature yogi that Prabhupada is talking about, he has come to the point where that soul realizes that he is not this subtle body or gross body, but on top of it is also realizing his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. 59. Yatha putracha vittacha prathammartyah pratiyate apyatpatvenabhimata dehadeh purushasthatha. Because of great affection for family and wealth, one accepts a son and some money as his own, and due to affection for the material body, one thinks that it is his. But actually, as one can understand that his family and wealth are different from him, the liberated soul can understand that he and his body are not the same. Pratibodhartham mumukshubhihi nityam evam vibhavyam. Those who are hankering for liberation should constantly consider the following in order to become awakened from the delusion of material existence. What kind of mental practice should they accept in order to come to the point of being awakened? That is stated in 3 verses beginning with the current verse. Atisnehavashat atmatvena bhimatat api putradeha prithageva martiha pitradihi yatha katha eva purushaha jivaha. Out of excessive affection and because of happily accepting that these objects of extreme affection, such as one's son, they all belong to him, thinking that these are my very life and soul. Still, the mortal being knows that the mortal being, he means the father of that son and so on. He knows that they are actually different. So like that, one should use one's intelligence to understand that I am a Purusha, I am a Jiva. I'm not actually directly connected with everything that is here. This kind of intellectual, mental discipline is meant for anyone who's interested in becoming awakened from material existence. The status of real knowledge is explained in this verse. There are many children, but we accept some children as our sons and daughters because of our affection for them, although we know very well that these children are different from us. Similarly, because of great affection for money, we accept some amount of wealth in the bank as ours. In the same way, we claim that the body is ours because of affection for it. I say that it is my body. I then extend that possessive concept and say it is my hand, my leg, and further, it is my bank balance, my son, my daughter. But actually, I know that the son and the money are separate from me. It is the same with the body. I'm separate from my body. It is a question of understanding, and the proper understanding is called pratibuddha, awakened. By obtaining knowledge in devotion, service, or Krishna consciousness, one can become a liberated soul. 40 and 41. 40. Yatholmukad vispulinga dhumagapi swasambhavad apyatmatvenabhimatad yathagnih pratagulmukad. The blazing fire is different from the flames, from the sparks, and from the smoke, although all are intimately connected because they are born from the same blazing wood. Let me read the next also. 41. Bhutendriyantah karanat pradhanat jiva sangitat atma tatha prithak drashta bhagavan brahma sangitaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as Param Brahma, is a seer. He is different from the Jiva soul or the individual living entity who is combined with the senses, the 5 elements, and consciousness. Nanu yatha putra vitta adibhyaha martyah prathak avastitaha drishyate na tatha dehendriya adibhya jivatma jivatmatah sakashat paramatma prathak katham avagantavyah. ityatah. Objection. A mortal being sees his son, his wealth, and so on to be distinct from him. But the Jivatma does not see that he is distinct from his body, his senses, and so on. Then, how can he understand that the Paramatma is different from the Jivatma? He is distinct. So then, this is stated. Yathol Mukha. The blazing fire is different from the flames, from the sparks, and from the smoke. पृथक अवस्थान अभावे अपि माया तत्कार्याभ्याम पृथक भूतः जीवात्मनः च सकाशात् परमात्मा पृथक एव इति अत्र अयं दृष्टान्तः. Even though they are not distinctly present, even though they are all together, the Jivatma is actually distinct from Maya and the products of Maya. And distinct from the Jivatma is the Paramatma. For that, this is the example here. अत्र यथा शब्दस्य उल्मुख शब्दस्य च पौनरुक्त्याद् एवं व्याख्येयम्. उल्मुखात् दह्यमानात् काष्ठाद् यथा अग्निः पृथक् भवति. Just as there's a distinction between fire and wood that is burning because of the fire. यथा च उल्मुखात् पृथक्. तथा विस्फुलिङ्गादपि पृथक्. Similarly, just as the fire is distinct from the wood, or is distinct from the flames that emanate from the wood when it is being burnt, it is distinct from the sparks also. यथा च विस्फुलिङ्गात् पृथक् तथा धूमादपि वकार्यात् पृथक्. It is distinct from the smoke which is a byproduct. कीदृशात् आत्मत्वेन अग्निस्वरूपत्वेन अभिमतादपि अविवेकिनः हि उल्मुखः विस्फुलिङ्गः धूमः अपि अग्निः अयम् इति अभिमन्यते. So even though they are all actually distinct, a person who has no discriminating knowledge will say that the flame, the sparks, the smoke, all of them are the fire. Yadva, alternate meaning. Dvitiya yatha shabdasya yathavad ityarthaha. Otherwise, the word yatha that comes before Agni can be understood as meaning yathavad or factually. Dvitiya ulmukaditi ulmukam atti jwalayati iti Agni visheshana. The second ulmukhat in this verse can then be understood to be meaning blazing as an adjective of Agni, of fire. दाष्टान्तिकं योजयति प्रधानात् उल्मुखस्थानीयात् जीवसंगीतात् जीवरूपः यः संगीतः संज्ञां चेतनां प्राप्तः तस्मात्. The jiva, who is comparable to the flame, it means the living entity has become enlivened here. Tasmat vispulingasthaniyaat bhutendriyantah karanat dhumasthaniyat. No. Pradhana is compared to the flame, and the living entity are compared to the sparks, and the gross elements as well as the senses and the internal sense organ, they are compared to the smoke. Distinct from all of these is the fire, which is the Atma, the Paramatma. Yataha drashta, because he is a seer. Sahi drishyat prathak eva. So he is distinct from everything else because everything else is seen by him, but he alone is the seer. Sahasthita api asangaha yataha bhagavan achintya aishwaryaha bhagavan eva brahma sangyam praptaha kasminschit adhikarini nirvishesha chinmatratvena bhataha cha bhavati ityarthaha. Even though Bhagavan is situated so close by, he is not actually associating because of his inconceivable opulences. And this Bhagavan himself is sometimes referred to as Brahman, which means for certain souls who have certain appropriate qualifications, he is realized as the impersonal pure consciousness. A clear conception of the complete whole is given here with, right? No. Although the blazing fire, the sparks, the smoke, and the flame cannot stay apart because each of them is part and parcel of the fire, still they are different from one another. A less intelligent person accepts the smoke as fire, although fire and smoke are completely different. The heat and light of the fire are separate, although one cannot differentiate differentiate fire from heat and light. So this purport we'll read in tomorrow's session. Okay, we'll stop with this. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यः च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।